Hi guys, I am here with Brian of Korean Course, a death metal band from Florida. Hi Brian, how are you today?
Greetings. How's everybody?
So Brian, let's talk about Carrion Course. How long do you exist, guys?
We formed in the summer of 14, and then by December of 15, released our first album, Feast of the Maggots, and then started to play out after doing that. Um, from there, we opened up for our second show was opening for Black Dahlia Murder, and then we also followed with opening up for Gore Guts and Cannabis Corpse as they came through our town. Um, we also had the pleasure of going down to Tampa and playing the legendary Black Brass Mug, opening for bands such as Brutality, Nocturnus AD, Amon, and a couple other bands as well. Played Swarm Fest and Florida Metal Extreme Fest. I think that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we've also played like a couple shows with Amon when they were still in action at the time. We actually opened up the show where Corpse Grinder came out on stage and they did an encore set of a couple old classic Deicide songs. I was fortunate enough to be the messenger. um, Eric Hoffman pretty much was like, well, when they were playing their set,
Mm-hmm.
Corpse Grinder was right up front, like doing his thing, having a good time. And so like after their set, we all went to the back room, and I went up to Eric and I was like, man, Corpse Grinder was raging out. Like it'd be really cool if you guys did a couple songs with them. And he goes, go ask him. And so I sure enough went up to him. And was like, hey man, come back here. Eric wants to talk to you. And he came back and they chatted and whatnot. And then next thing you knew, Eamon came back out on stage and did a couple songs with Corpse Grinder as front man. It was epic. It was like historic.
Yeah, that's awesome. You had so many shows with all those bands. What kind of feeling was it, especially
Feeling?
Corpse Rider on the same stage? Because I really love that guy.
Yeah, man. Dude, what's cool about being a Florida death metal band?
Mm-hmm.
Like our scene isn't that great. I mean, like pretty much everybody's in a band, and whenever a band plays out, it's typically your audience is going to be either the bands that you play with or other local bands in that area that heard and know about you and like you. So it's like there's some just fans, but for the most part, the audience usually consists of fellow musicians. So it's just like it's a network brotherhood of fellow musicians supporting each other, and that's why you can be playing a show at Brass Mug and like people like the guitar player from Nasty Savage will come out and just check you out just because there ain't nothing to do.
That's cool because Florida, I mean, everybody knows about Florida death metal scene.
Oh yeah,
How is it for you to live in Florida and play death metal?
I mean, it's definitely an expensive hobby. Like there's it's all work, and you do it for the love. You don't really do it because it's something successful. I mean, you can try really hard and make it successful, but as far as the scene, it's not as it's especially in my town, Tallahassee, the capital city. It's nothing like it was in the '90s.
Okay.
Like like we in the '90s it was definitely like a more popular underground scene and
Hmm.
that kind of as those kids grew up into adults and started getting married and having kids and raising families,
You
those
live in
people don't
Florida,
go
you
out to
play in a
shows
death metal
anymore.
band. Everybody knows about the Florida death metal scene.
Oh yeah.
So how can you imagine to be in a black metal band?
I mean, I'm friends with people who are in black metal bands here in Florida. Like, I like some black metal, and like, I would totally be down to be in a black metal project.
Hmm.
But as far as black metal's popularity, I think it's a little bit more popular for some reason. At least some of the shows that I've been to, like the black metal shows, have a little bit more of a audience turnout than the death metal, which is surprising since Florida's like the death metal capital of the United States.
Hmm.
And it's cool. I think people really like the showmanship and the gimmick that black metal brings, with like the look and the corpse paint and the aesthetics of how they present themselves. And so I think people really buy into that and find that a little bit more entertaining than a bunch of dudes in camo pants going.
Yeah. Tell me about Korean Chorus. What are you singing about? Your lyrical themes.
Um, a lot of the content that Carrying Curse is about is heavily influenced from like paranormal stuff,
Uh-huh.
like ghost stories, and some historic stuff, like our song "Pick Your Poison." The first verse is pretty much in reference to the first female serial killer in the United States, Lavinia. She would like poison all her victims, and so there's other things. We have a song "From the Depths," which is about Cthulhu. Some Lovecraft references there, and
Oh.
a little bit all over the place. Um, it's this album's a little bit different than the first album,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed, for like as far as the lyric content, behind it all, it's still the same heart of the band. It's just we've kind of evolved from one album to the next, which any band would hope to achieve that.
Who is writing the music and the lyrics?
For the most part, I write most of the lyrics. We do have some songs here and there that Freddie will have like already written the music and the lyrics for. For instance, our first track on the new album, Regurgi Birth, that was actually a song that I did with Freddie in the first band I was in with Freddie 10 years ago, called
Mm.
Driven. And we, such a good song that we thought, might as well keep it for carrying, since, you know, we can play it. And we decided to re-record it for the new album, and figured it'd be a good opener for the album. And so for that instance, it was a song that Freddie had already written lyrics and music for, so it just happened to work out that way.
Oh, that's cool. How is it now with the new members? Because I know you have new members in your band.
Yeah, actually, this time last year, we were almost not a band anymore. Um, we had just finished up tracking drums for the new album with the old drummer,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Dale, the guitar player at the time, he had recently remarried and was in a music project with his wife, or is currently in a music project with his wife, and it just, his interest seemed to fall more heavily on that, but leaving us to the back burner. And so as a band, we had to pretty much, move on. And so Dale departed from the band, and that was right around the time the pandemic started and everything was shutting down and everybody was panicking. And so about a couple of weeks later, our drummer was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to play anymore. And so he stepped down, leaving it to be just me and Freddie at the time.
Uh-huh.
And what was crazy is at that time, we were still scheduled to open up for Massacre that fall.
Oh.
This past, yeah, like Massacre had planned to do a local show at the time, and Cam had hit me up and was like, would Carrie and like to open and this and that, and I was like, hell yeah, we would gladly love to come down to Orlando and open for you guys. And things didn't work out with Massacre and with the show, and so that ended up not happening. But at the time, we felt it was real urgent to like get our shit together and be ready for that show. Had not knowing that it would eventually end up being canceled anyway. So basically, this time last year, coming into March or midway into March, coming into April, it was just me and Freddie. And so basically, I put a word out, hey, we're looking for people to, in our fellow musician groups online and on Facebook and whatnot. And my good friends, I should say, my bad, um, Steven and Jonathan from Grimoire, which is a local death metal band out of Panama City, which is about an hour and a half west of here. They said that they would be interested in playing with us. So basically, I got them on board, and we were trying to find a drummer. I contacted some drummers I knew. None of them kind of really seemed interested. Finally, I contacted an old drummer that I played with in a band like 10 years ago called My Apparition. Um, and he was down. He seemed interested, and so we had one practice at his place in town, and I had the new guys come over, and we jammed through a couple songs, and it was okay. Like it had potential if the work was put in, but it ended up not working out. And so I ended up of all things, I put a Craigslist ad out, and sure enough, this drummer from South Georgia, which is, right next to Florida, he contacted me and was like, hey, I'm interested. And he lives about 3 hours away from me. And so he said he'd seem to be interested, and he had a kit similar to what I had. And I told him that he could use my drum set for practice, and all he'd have to do is bring whatever he felt comfortable needing. So he learned our stuff and then did a little tryout video, and basically that showed me and Freddie that he was serious. And so we gave him a shot, and he came down, and we had practice with all the dudes, and it clicked. It All these guys are serious musicians. They've put a lot of time in on their craft, and we were remarkably able to resurrect the band, relearn all the songs for the second album, and re-record it all within a year.
Yeah, but I'm glad it worked. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to find a drummer. I mean, it's a problem worldwide for the musicians in the bands.
That's why I started playing drums.
Oh, good. After all those things, did you ever thought to give up with Current Curse?
I mean, there's always been thoughts of like, should I like in the band now and like or move and try and start the band over, and it just, it all pointed to just staying the course and trying to, work with what I got.
Mm-hmm.
Being in North Florida, the heavy metal's definitely not as popular as it is in South Florida.
Okay.
Um, Jacksonville has a little bit of a scene. Pensacola used to get some shows, but for the most part, when tours come through Florida, they normally skip the north part of the state and hit up Tampa, Orlando, or Miami, because that's honestly where the people who like that music live.
I see. How was 2020 for you with all these COVID things, the
Um,
shutdown and everything?
I mean, I didn't have it as bad as some, but I didn't have it as good as some either. I luckily didn't lose my job
Oh,
and was able to continue to work the whole time, and uh my job's actually picked up since the pandemic because I fix computers for a living.
mm-hmm.
And so with everybody being home, working at home, everyone's needing to have their computer fixed, and so that leaves me to be having a stable income coming in so that I can help sustain my band.
Mm.
um, Other than that, it's just been a lot of staying at home, no shit. Like I went like the whole year of 2020 without going to a show. The last show I attended with my girlfriend was December of 2019. We went and saw Terrorizer play in Tampa, and since then we hadn't attended a show until the one I played at the beginning of the month.
Okay, but you had already a show. Any upcoming shows?
We had just played on the 6th here in town. That was our first show, is like our comeback show. We hadn't played out since September of 2019. So this was it meant a big deal for us to be able to at least come out and play the new music with the new lineup. And
Mhm.
that, it wasn't the best turnout. We had about 30 people, which for Tallahassee, that's about normal. So,
Yeah.
um, I was luckily able to make enough from the door to pay all the bands something for their time, since I was the one that pretty much promoted and put the show together and found all the bands.
Oh, a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And you do it because you love it.
Exactly. Tell me about the name, Carrion Curse. Why did you choose that name?
Um, I wanted like a black and death metal band name,
Mm-hmm.
and I figured Carrion brought the death metalness of it, and Curse brought the black metal side of it. So, it was like black
Yeah.
and death metal sounding. Um, I originally imagined like a combination of uh, like Unleash and Cannibal Corpse, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Have brutalness and a little bit of like the black metal side of it, and you know just
Yeah.
a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
A little bit brutal and a little bit dark.
Yeah. That's what I like.
That's cool. You have a new album out?
Yeah, this is it's titled A Curse on the World,
Mm-hmm.
and it's comprised of 11 tracks, and it features our first instrumental track, like a little intro track into our song From the Depths, the Cthulhu song. And what's cool about that song, this is our first song to actually have like a fade out ending. And yeah, because most of our songs have usually been like the old school start stop, verse chorus verse. But for this one, we kind of started. You we started to I guess, evolve with our song structure writing and with, breaking up the monotony of a lot of our song structure.
I see. I have a question about a song.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the death state.
Yeah,
What is it about?
it's about getting murdered and being trapped in like a purgatory type realm, as you would say. Like, I watch this show called The Dead Files, and
Hmm.
it's this woman who can see dead people and whatnot, and her partner is a retired cop and does like all the investigating behind the places that they investigate. And a lot of the times she'll talk about the death state that they're trapped in,
Hmm.
and like they'll be like if they're murdered in a particular way, their spirit form will be containing that form, and that's basically the inspiration behind that track.
I have to tell you, that's my favorite song till now. I really love it.
Cool. Yeah, like I wanted the last track of the album to be a banger to and leave you hanging.
And now tell me, it is. Believe me. Your favorite bands. Is there any
Oh,
band you would like to support on stage?
oh hell yeah, Possessed.
Oh,
Um, like just recently, Jeff, he's friends with Freddie, our guitar player, and he follows us pretty regularly on Instagram and Facebook, and actually gave us a shout out on his Facebook page to
oh,
check us out, and like I'm deeply humbled by that. Um, about 2012 in November of that year, Freddie and mine's old band Driven actually had the pleasure of going down to Tampa and opening up for Possessed,
hmm.
and that was probably one of the best shows of my career. Like who doesn't want to open up for Possessed? You know,
Exactly. So,
and
dream come true.
yeah, pretty much. And so, like, to be able to communicate with Jeff and thank him for, supporting us, that's been pretty cool. And as a matter of fact, last year, I believe it was last year, Possess played the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise.
Uh-huh.
And on their one set that they played, Jeff actually wore our shirt on,
Oh,
on
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
like
really
that
cool.
that that really, like, man, like I'm deeply humbled by that. Um it's been a much pleasure to be able to have the support of Jeff Becerra,
Yeah.
who, started death metal, and you know, even Cam likes us. Cam Lee,
Mm-hmm.
he's I've given him a copy of the album. He checked us out and liked us. Pretty much all the classic death metal guys from Florida, they kind of like us. I mean, we kind of we're like a fresh take of like the classic sound.
Yes, I can see that, to be honest.
And I'm like I said, I'm really happy and I'm very humbled to be working with these guys in the new lineup. They're all very talented musicians. They all good guys. I look forward to playing many shows with them as soon as more shows become available and big tours come back around. And if any labels out there that hear this want to sign us, contact us, please.
Where people can find you on the
uh,
internet.
I mean, hell, you can put Carrion Curse into Google and
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to find us. Like we're pretty legit. out there in the internet realm.
Exactly, also on
We
YouTube, Facebook, everywhere.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, YouTube. I mean, you name it, we're probably on there. We had a Twitter handle, but we don't really like. I don't use Twitter. I'm pretty much like the main guy that runs the online content. So like I mainly correspond in Facebook and like some Messenger and other things like
Hmm.
that. But yeah, we have an email. You can email the band at carryandcurse@gmail.com. That's our email for the band. But other than that, it's usually through Facebook, the correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And now tell me your favorite bands.
Ooh, all right. That's a long list. Morbid Angel's probably up there at the top since I was 14 years old when I came across the Domination album,
Hmm.
and this was like the late 90s, mind you. Um, just to go show you my age,
Hmm.
I'm kind of young, but not as young as I used to be.
Oh,
Uh,
same here, of course.
you know, so definitely Morbid Angel. Favorite bands: Slayer, Possessed, Cannibal Corpse, Grave. For black metal, I really love Immortal.
Hmm.
I love Abbott. I like um, there's this new black metal band from Iceland. It's like AUDN Audun. They're like I can't understand a word he says because it's in Icelandic, but like I really, really, really feel the music.
Oh, that's good.
Like I really want them to come to the United States, and I really want to see them live. I don't have to open for them. I just want to see them live. Like I really fucking like that band.
Well, I hope someday, and I hope someday I can see you here in Europe also.
Hell yeah, that would be so great. Like I said, like any promoters out there, want to help bring Carrying Curse to
Mhm.
Europe, please contact me, and we see if we can make it happen. I'd love to take this band anywhere that we can.
Yeah, I believe that. Because almost, not almost, all bands would like to play in Europe. It's like the bands from Europe would like to play also in USA. It's the same.
Well, I don't know what the real world is as far as how like the local scenes are in Europe. I'm sure like everyone here has the imagination that Europe's got way better metal scenes. Like people actually come out to shows and blah 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 blah. But in all reality, I don't know. Like it might, some places in Europe might be just like they are here. Like
Yeah, that's true.
you know, um, everybody always thinks the grass is greener on the other side.
True.
But I still want to hope to play out and extend the curse as much across. I'd like to put a curse on the world for sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, Brian, I would like to thank you for the interview.
I'd like to thank you very much for having me. Like it's been a pleasure, and it's great to be able to do this again.
It was also my pleasure, of course.
and
So,
yeah, I want to thank all the fans over the years who have listened to us and liked us and supported us. And without y'all, we couldn't, continue to do what we do. I mean, we could, but it's not as rewarding without the fans.
okay, have a nice day. Day. Day.